It's review time again, and I'm looking forward to review a film made by Tim Wouters, if I pronounce this correct, in today's Reviewing Your Underwater Films episodes. Coming up. Hi and welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School and today's episode of Reviewing Your Underwater Films. Today I've picked a film submitted by Tim Wouters. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your last name there, Tim, sorry for that, but thank you very much already for submitting your film and allowing me to review it in this series. Without any further ado, let's dive right into Tim's film.
At night, in the ocean, tiny microscopic organisms known as plankton are drawn to light sources, such as a diver's torch.
Very nice, a narration.
Plankton,
I like that.
Attracts much larger animals.
And we've got a story here too.
Whale shark.
Well done.
Or the majestic manta rays. These gentle giants of the ocean feed on krill and zooplankton by swimming into them with their mouths wide open. Watching these graceful animals feed and dance is a breathtaking experience that can only be witnessed in a few places in the world.
Very nice, Tim. And I like the music that you've picked. Oh, that was a bit of a quick cut there. A little overexposed. It's still very nice. Excellent. Well done, Tim. Great work. Thank you so much for submitting this great piece of underwater imagery to this series. I immensely enjoyed watching this piece because it reminded me of my time diving in the Maldives with the whale sharks and the manta rays. I think that using a narrator and creating a story around these really cool looking shots made this into a complete piece. You could have also just as well showed these shots without a narrator, without a story. It would have been nice, but it would not be anywhere close to what it is now. So this makes a big difference, and this is a really good example how you can use storytelling and maybe even a narrator to create or to give some perspective to the imagery that you're taking while diving. I have to say that the images themselves, they were probably not the best that we've seen on this series here. Some of the images were a little out of focus. Sometimes it was a little overexposed, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter too much because again, the story was just holding everything together, and if some of the images were imperfect, that's not a big deal because people will still watch it because it's, as I said, it's a story, you're telling a story, and it just all makes sense. So the perfection in the imagery is not as important in such a case, in my opinion. I know that it can be very challenging filming in these conditions because it's dark, and then you've got very bright light sources like the flashlights, the underwater torches, the lights that come off from the boat and shine into the water. Then the bellies of the manta rays, they're very reflective, so it's really difficult to get a proper exposure on there. But I think you did a fairly good job, and yes, there was a couple of clips that were, as I said, overexposed, not properly in focus and all that sort of stuff, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. One thing that I've noticed that I would like to mention here and give you as a tip is when it comes to the editing. I did enjoy the piece of music that you've picked. I think you've picked a good piece of music that goes along well with the imagery that we saw. I do think that you cut between some of the clips a little too quick sometimes, because the music was rather slow and airy and sort of mystical, and that sort of calls for longer takes. And I know sometimes you don't have longer takes, you only have a couple of seconds of a shot, and then it's basically up to you to decide whether or not you want to keep that shot in there at all, or whether you want to just not use it and rather use the shots that are a little longer. Because I think that using shots that are a little longer would have benefited this clip, in my opinion. Also, if, I don't know what frame rate you were filming this at, but you wrote in your email that you filmed it with a GH5. If you filmed it at a higher frame rate, for example 50 or 60p, I probably would have tried to slow down a couple of these clips, or even have like the beginning of the clip where the manta comes into the frame at normal speed, then slow it down. So basically do like a little speed ramping, slow it down to half the speed. So while it's in the camera or in the frame, not in the camera, but while it's in the frame, you have a little bit of a slow motion going on there, and then speed it up again to normal speed as the animal is leaving the frame again. This is just gonna add a little more, it's gonna make your footage look a little more dramatic that way. So that's probably a tip that I can give you there as well. I would have used a little bit of slow motion on some of these clips to make it a little more dramatic. But overall, a really nice piece of work. As I said before, I've really enjoyed watching that film. Thanks again, Tim, for submitting it to this series. And as always, if you guys want to check out more of Tim's work, I'll leave the link to his YouTube channel as well as the link to this video down in the video description below. Feel free to head over there and say hi to Tim from me. So that's about it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and again, Tim, thank you so much for submitting your film and allowing me to review it in this series here. If any one of you guys wants me to review one of your underwater films within this series, feel free to send me an email to contact@matthiaslebo.com with the link to the film, and I'll be more than happy to review it as soon as I get to it. If you've missed any of the previous reviewing your underwater film episodes, you can watch them in this playlist here. And until next time, enjoy capturing your underwater adventures, and I will see you next week.